All right, we're going to go ahead and get rolling. I'm sure some of you all will be joining as the session's in progress. As mentioned, this will be recorded and made available. So if you miss a portion of it, which I guess if you're missing this portion, you won't even know I'm saying it, but it will be available for you after today's event. So I am introducing Robert Jan Barmentlow. He is the Product Management Platform Analytics product manager at ServiceNow. And today he's going to be presenting on the platform analytics experience and specifically activating your next experience analytics. So I'm personally really excited for this session. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Robert Jan. Thank you, Robert Jan.
Like Mitch mentioned, quickly introduce myself. My name is Robert Parmetlow. I am with the product management team of ServiceNow, specifically platform analytics. So you might know our team specifically, of course, from the features and capabilities like performance analytics, the reporting, maybe our in-platform dashboards. But it's not just those we are as a team focusing on. Our team has a huge role also in working on the analytics chart components that you, for example, see surfacing in workspaces out there, but also the data science analytics capabilities that are running underneath, the data querying capabilities that, of course, everything requests, and even the new user experience analytics to really enable you to measure how your users are using the platform. As Mitch mentioned, in this session, I'll be sharing a sneak preview of the whole bundle that we message or that we market as platform analytics experience. And this basically is this whole set of new UIs physically residing on what we call the next experience framework that will bring a ton of extra value to you doing your day-to-day analytics on the ServiceNow platform. So what I'll do today is I'll tell you all about what's changing, but mostly also focus on what is the main value of that? What are the benefits of using the current core UI 16 ways of doing analytics? So what are the benefits over that one? And I'll explain also the more short to midterm way that we envision in supporting or helping you to actually get there, to get you on that platform analytics experience. And that's what we mean with activating your next experience analytics. Okay, here we go. Let's quickly show this one. Before we dive into the exciting plans, it is always good to show this safe harbor slide. The presentation will absolutely contain forward-looking statements, so they are all based on the current expectations and assumptions, and of course involve risks with the actual delivery of those. With that being said, let's move into the deck and the cool slides. One of the things that is already happening is platform analytics. They introduced this set of already significant updates in the Tokyo, the Utah, and the Vancouver release. Many of those enhancements you might have already seen, you might have already played with in what we now currently call the platform analytics workspace. So it could be that you've maybe already created some of those new data visualizations or dashboards over there, or maybe you heard me or one of my ServiceNow colleagues talk about them. What happened was we often talked about those in isolation. So we were talking about one specific feature as we delivered it, maybe in one of those releases, or one specific capability. What I like to do today is more look at the overall value. Like, what is that complete picture of those things that you might now do in what we would call the core UI 16 solutions, like PA widgets that you're creating, or the report designer that you're using for something, or maybe the core UI dashboards, or maybe performance analytics applications or capabilities like the analytics hubs or scorecards over there. and how that will be once you fully work the same sort of capabilities, the same sort of value inside our platform analytics experience. I had customers literally ask me, as in, okay, why would we make that shift into the platform analytics workspace? When they asked that, it made me realize that we've been very focused on the individual value of those individual parts and not really the big. So what I'll do today is take that step back and look at the whole suite. What are we changing, and also why are we changing it? But then again, back to that question that the customers have been asking me, why should we do our analytics there? I think that's absolutely a valid question, especially as often the existing content, so all the reports and all the PA widgets and all the dashboards that you've created in the past, they still reside in the core UI 16 environment. So your biggest request or your biggest incentive to use those new capabilities, those new analytics on top of being your own reports and your own PA indicators and your own dashboard, it wasn't fulfilled. It wasn't there. So yes, you were able to create something new, but if your existing content, so your reports and your dashboards aren't there, you would never be able to fully move to work your day-to-day activities in what we call the platform analytics experience. Now, the good news is part of what we call the activation of the platform analytics experience and the next experience analytics is we are delivering a solution for migrating your analytics content from the core UI experiences into this next experience. And I will talk about definitely all about that. Okay, so to take that step back, the overarching value proposition, we think that there are a few reasons that actually make it a better experience compared to the core UI 16 analytics. First of all, it's all about ease of use. So the platform analytics experience makes using and creating analytics just easier. It offers this more sleek, user-friendly interface with more options. But I think where really the power is, what really sets apart is what we call the consistency, the unification. It enables or it delivers this consistent in-platform analytics experience. So once you dive in and really adopt something, you basically adopt it for everything. And you'll hear me say consistency a lot, most likely. But one thing that we wanted to get rid of those siloed, those disjointed, sometimes a little bit clunky interfaces that you always had to navigate to. So there were all these separate places of analytics to basically do the same thing, using performance analytics capabilities as well as reporting capabilities. Both were basically doing the same thing, but for end users, it almost felt like these complete separate applications, which is weird. So moving it into a single, all under one roof analytics with these improved UIs and experiences around the creation and the consumption of analytics, that's what we wanted, and that's what we really are driving now with the whole platform analytics experience. Okay, so we are building this consistency. We're bringing that consistency, and we're building that more single cohesive experience when approaching analytics, and that actually already starts with navigation. So currently, and I just mentioned in the slide before, we basically force our users to all these different areas of the platform, and that is something that will change. So there will be a single dashboard solution to consume any type of data, but also a single builder solution to configure them or to consume them in isolation. So whenever you would create a performance analytics widget, or you would create a single report, you would already be in different experiences that will all move into the same builder solution to either configure them there or to consume them there. And we're bringing all those things together under this analytics menu or the analytics center menu directly from the left side menu. So this will really help you to start where we believe that you need to be, making sure that in a fewer clicks, you actually get to the content that you want to consume, or maybe the content that you want to create. This also means that decision also means that we're going to take it out of what's currently in Tokyo, Utah, and Vancouver state of where the next experience analytics solutions are actually part of that platform analytics workspace. Why we did that was by putting it into a workspace currently, by putting it where it's currently during that Tokyo, Utah, and Vancouver state, we would actually still position it as this more or less disjointed experience. I believe that workspaces in ServiceNow are also by design actually very much targeted around a single user persona that does a certain very specific workflow task. That workflow task usually has a start, it has an end, it has some work in between. We felt that just wasn't the case for analytics. We serve multiple personas. We have just end users that maybe want to consume their dashboards or we have the users that configure them for others. We have admins. We've got those power users that are often maybe like service owners, and all come in with different needs and with different purposes. And therefore, we really needed to position the platform analytics experience more as this full experience instead of a workspace. I'll give you an example of how that will look. So currently we have, of course, all the analytics solutions within their own menu items. So that we have this whole menu link tree. And then there's even the platform analytics workspace within the workspace menu. So all the things that you see here on the left, those are all the things that we have currently. What will happen, how that will change is it will actually move into a single analytics or analytics center menu. So literally all analytics under one roof directly from the all menu. So directly from the left side menu. So for example, all your current dashboards, once migrated, they will be on their dashboards over there. And all your current reports, or maybe those PA widgets, those performance analytics widgets that you might have, they will move into data visualizations. Another thing that we're doing is we're bringing the analytics charts into what we call the next level. What we mean with that is not just visually into this more modern look and feel, because we felt it needed a more modern look and feel. It was perceived a little bit old, a little bit classic, but also on the options that you're using. So configuration options as well as styling options. Most importantly for this one, we made them what we call data source agnostic. And the data source agnostic is probably the true secret sauce that we were able to apply to the analytics data visualizations that made it possible to bring that consistency that I was talking about before. So to really be more unified. So with data source agnostic, we really mean basically detaching the data source layer from the analytics charting layer. And the data source that you select once you're creating a data visualization, once you're creating a chart, will actually define the options that you will have within the chart. So how you consume or configure a chart, the UI around that will actually be the same regardless of the data source it's using. So think about the data types that we already have. It could be maybe a glide table that you use for reporting, or maybe it's performance analytics indicator data. Maybe it's metric based, like the machine generated data. Maybe it's data from Loom, Search AI. There's usage analytics data nowadays. So all these out of the box data sources, we wanted to really bring into this data source agnostic approach, that we would have one way how you would also how you would configure them. And selecting the data source will define the options that you have for that data source. So for example, time series data that you have with performance analytics indicator data or with metric-based data will have more options around specifically the fact that it's time series data, that you can do trending on it or forecasting on it. And this was really the consistency that we were striving for. Now, the fact that we were doing that for the data source agnostic approach, it really allowed us to bring that consistency basically to all our solutions. So it allowed us to get rid of all the different builders that we would have in the core UI 16 world, not because they were really bad. The main issue, I think, was because they were just different. They were different from one another, and with that, it's truly impacting your adoption of them. I think we shouldn't be forcing users to select a configuration tool based on the data source that you want to use within. You shouldn't even know that what is the type of data source before you make that selection of the tool that you want to use. So that is what we're changing. We bring that visualization designer in to consume and create all those single data visualizations based on any type of data source. So that's for the visualization designer. We basically do also the same for the dashboard builder. There's a new dashboard builder, we call it the inline editor, that will help you create or consume those dashboards. And it will actually work the same way as the visualization designer. It's literally using the same configuration panel within. The dashboard builder is the easy to use dashboard experience that immediately has a ton of extra features over the current existing one that we have in the core UI. I believe the biggest benefit is the fact that you now build your dashboard actually in the context of the rest of the dashboard. So whenever you're adding a data visualization, an analytics chart, you're doing it in the dashboard where you're also consuming the rest of the dashboard. It doesn't push you out to maybe any of those other builders and then later place that content on the dashboard. Now you can literally build it directly on the dashboard while you're consuming the rest. Another great enhancement is the fact that we immediately solved that frustration that we often heard when people were sharing a dashboard, that you had to individually share all the underlying reports. And now with the new one, actually, when you share, you can immediately make the underlying content available for those users you're sharing it with. We know that was a huge frustration from customers, users. Also, other components that you might use within those dashboards, like filters. With the next experience, we're capable of also bringing those filters unified. So again, thanks to that data source agnostic approach, also those filters are unified. So there's one single filter solution regardless of the data source, which then, of course, removes that constraint that we always had. For example, interactive filters for reporting and breakdown filters for performance analytics. The goal, of course, of this is to make it easier for our customers, for you as users to learn, to adopt, and just use those features. So there's one way to create your analytics instead of these 3 or 4 different areas that we push you in. And there's also one way the charts actually behave when you consume them, or when maybe other widgets on the dashboard would interact with them. So a few examples on before and after. If the slide goes, yeah, here we go. As mentioned before, we would have all these different builders. We had that PA widget form, which was interesting, a little bit challenging to use. It was literally a form that you had to create your PA widget with. You didn't really get a preview of it. Of course, we also had the report builder. We had the report designer. There's actually a metric builder, I think, within metric base for that machine generated data. In other words, all very isolated, all very disjointed. But in the end, all would have the same purpose, right? All try to create something that in the end is an analytics chart that brings meaningful information of your data. So what we're doing there is we're all moving those into this single data visualization designer that you see here on the right. Other example on the dashboards, we had of course, in the past, we had the home pages, we had the core UI dashboards there, the responsive dashboard with the easy drag and drop and everything. But the downside of that one, what I mentioned before, was the fact that you had to create the content somewhere else and then later put it on a dashboard. With the new one, it's actually much better. And not only does it still have that same drag and drop experience, so it's still super easy to create, but you're actually now creating the content within the context of the rest of the dashboard. So you're actually creating it there. Aside from that, there are tons of more features that we added to it, with duplication of dashboards, of tabs, of widgets within many of the things that you can do on sharing. So it's absolutely a better experience. Okay. Proactive analytics capabilities. This is a super cool one. I think I'm super excited about this one. What we're doing in the next experience analytics is we want to bring you better what we call proactive analytics capabilities, meaning we want to get to the state of where you would get the analytics insight without you actually having to search for it. So ideally, even before you thought you needed it. So if the analytics data science capabilities that we have in the platform on top of your data, if they're able to find those things that are actually happening inside your data that might influence your service performance, then we believe we shouldn't hide that information. So instead of pushing you to figure out what's going on from an analytics chart, so jump into Analytics Hub or KPI details, let's just tell you what's going on. So those are those proactive insights. And within the platform analytics experience, we're actually capable of showing them in every UI possible. You can make them part of a workspace. You can service them as notifications, but you can also see them here on the screen on the right side panel as basically just insight cards that give you the insight, but also immediately put that actionability on top. Because we believe that's powerful. It's not just getting the meaningful insight, it's also understanding what you want to do with it and immediately doing that action. Also, what we've done is we've enhanced the exploratory tools to find the insights in the data. So I was mentioning Analytics Hub. We have the improved KPI details that also for this one is more feature rich. It has more features specifically around target and threshold management. So really setting targets and thresholds and doing things with that. And then there also, as part of that one, there's the amazing KPI signals. KPI signals is what we always call the noise cancellation on top of your data. It surfaces that what really matters, that what you should be active on. It basically hides all the noise. Next to that, for the next experience analytics, we added a ton of extra data science logic for our predictive analytics capabilities. So also there, that unified, consistent approach immediately brought the benefits that we were actually searching for. And then the fourth bullet here is we are also introducing a stronger integration with other tools out there. For example, how performance analytics capabilities work better with things like the continual service improvement or CIM, continuous improvement management, or process mining to really enable analytics integrated as part of those other tools. And there will be a session later after my session that specifically is around process mining. My dear colleague Dan Grady he will most likely also talk about that connection between process mining and performance analytics. One of the things also with that integration is we're also looking at other platform capabilities. So for example, making sure that those insights or any type of performance analytics capability that we can easily connect to something like Flow Designer to basically create a workflow of things that need to happen if something happens. If you learn something from your analytics, what should you do? So really making sure that a lot is possible over there. Quick before and after on this one. On the left side, we see the Analytics Hub. So that was the tool that we had in the core UI, and on the right side you see KPI details, the far more feature-rich capability to do that slicing and dicing to find those anomalies inside your data, with that extra target and threshold management on top. And the image on the far right is the KPI signals that I was talking about. So that's that noise cancellation to truly understand what is actually happening. Okay, few examples of struggles, pain points, and solutions. And some of them I might have already mentioned, like this one. Often we heard, why do we have interactive filters for reporting data and breakdown filters for performance analytics data? And as this image is showing, and as I mentioned before, this is through the unified filters that we're using now, not a problem anymore. Right now, you're just using one single filter component for any type of data source. Something else that we heard was creating analytics is hard. It's not really end user friendly. One way that I already mentioned, the new single way to create your data visualization. We not only made the user experience of configuration easier, but the fact that it's consistent for each data source that someone is using, it's truly helping with that adoption. Once you know how the visualization designer works, or how the visual designer configuration panel will work, you can use it for anything. It also services the same within your dashboards. Near future, we will actually do something similar also for actual data source configuration, like the creation of those indicators itself, or maybe indicator sources or breakdown sources, to really help that experience as well. This one, we heard analytics needs to be better integrated, better infused with the rest of the platform. It felt too much disjointed. Even to learn something about your data, you needed to go to a different place. So I talked a lot about that being that disjointed and being isolated. Feels like separate apps per data source that didn't really connect with the rest of the platform. Now that is something that we're really solving with this. Not only the single one, all under one roof analytics, but the fact that we have the data source agnostic approach, that you use one visual builder, but also that you use those to actually create what we call embedded analytics, and that you can super easily just integrate everywhere. Like I mentioned, the insights card, that you can put any part of your workflow, for example, as part of service operation workspace. Similar with the analytics that you see over there, like the analytics example that we have here on the screen. It's just one of our charts that's integrated as part of a workflow experience. And then this one, very much common ask that we heard, when will you allow me to explore the world beyond the second level breakdown? Though the whole breakdown constraint is not really, or not specifically, a deliverable of what we call the next experience analytics, or the platform analytics experience, it is something that is being worked on currently and will absolutely serve us on this next experience platform soon. We are moving into a different analytics model that actually goes far beyond the current limitation of 2 levels of breakdown. And we've been mentioning this a lot. We've been working on it for a long time. It is actually happening. We are already testing it internally right now, and the expectation, safe harbor applies, is to go general available with the Xanadu release. And then much more to come. So all the things that I already mentioned now before, those are actually already things that are there. They're currently part of the platform analytics workspace that will be sort of re-platformed into, or remarketed into, what we now call the platform analytics experience with that new navigation. Next to that, there are tons of things also incoming. So if this wasn't enough, there are amazing things coming. First, the one to call there, actually relates to the one that I had before, is that new data model that will soon bring our long-awaited data needs. And among those long-awaited data needs, that multiple levels of breakdown, but also other data use cases around performance and scalability. Second, smarter insights. We want to bring that insights, what I talked about with the insights panel, we want to make them even smarter based on different types of analytics signals that we got. For example, maybe based on your targets or thresholds, or maybe other elements from your predictive analytics. And all those insights should also be seamlessly working together with other workflow type of insights. For example, one thing that is already working with is benchmarking from ITSM. The third one, it says chart interactivity. So we're adding a lot of chart interactivity to do other types of platform actions based on the chart interaction that you're doing. So I always think that it's easiest to find the meaningful insight that you're searching for within the analytics by interacting with the data, if you can interact with the chart. So we're adding a lot of chart interactivity there. And of course, number 4, AI. AI is very top of our mind currently. I do believe that AI will have a huge role within analytics. So I don't think that AI could necessarily better predict or prescript. We have our proven data science models for that. But I do think that AI will absolutely support with the consumption or the creation of it. So when we think about consumption, to be easier, to make it easier for you as the end consumer to understand analytics, to provide maybe more context. So expect also capabilities to surface there that will support you when maybe creating new analytics next to that consumption part. One of the cool things is, and the example here that you're actually seeing on the screen, is where we help with the creation. You basically ask for a KPI, and it generates an analytics chart for you, and then you can ask the system to actually put it on the dashboard for you. So it absolutely helps with the creation of that analytics. One other thing that we're currently working on is summarization, which I think definitely helps with the consumption part of it. So making sure that whenever you're consuming a dashboard, it actually does summarization techniques on it, where it tells what's going on. Also the combination of multiple widgets together. Now, the question that might be on your mind is how and when. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, many of the things that I showed are actually already there, but they are currently, as what I mentioned, part of that platform analytics workspace. So Tokyo, Utah, and Vancouver already brought many of these capabilities. But as you rightfully said, if our own content isn't there, don't expect me to shift my day-to-day activities that I do with analytics to this experience that you just showed. Our guidance here was always to don't go recreate everything. And migration will be coming, but you can absolutely try it out. Put your toe in the water, get familiar with what's out there. Maybe if you want to create a single new data visualization, or maybe if there's a new dashboard even, go create it over there, just to get a little bit of a feeling with the platform analytics experience. But yes, absolutely help getting you into this environment. So as of Washington, there will be a way to what we call then the activate the next experience analytics. With that activation, we basically mean we bring your content, so the dashboards, the reports, the filters you might have, the performance analytics widgets that you have, into the equivalent of the platform analytics experience. So it's all using those new charts and those dashboards. So and also what will happen is we change that navigation to move all menus into that main analytics center menu. So I mentioned Washington. As of Washington, you will have basically those 3 options as you see here on the screen. One is activate. Activate is you will move this all under one roof analytics approach. So the navigation gets updated, as well as the migration will actually start and do the migration for you, and create those reports and PA widgets as data visualizations and your dashboards in the new world. By the way, as part of this one, we're actually also adding a way to, with usage analytics data, see which of your reports and which of your dashboards aren't used that much anymore. So immediately offering you the opportunity to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't migrate this one. It's an easy way to archive, or an easy way to do a little bit of lifecycle management on your current analytics ecosystem. And the second option that it says is try sandbox. This means basically having the two worlds side by side. So you'll have the ability to migrate all or parts of your content, while still also having the old analytics workflows with all those tools and all those capabilities in place, with the old menu structure in place. Do know that there's when we approach this, there's only one way forward. We will not stay in this two parallel worlds for too long, simply because we think the risk of creating too many technical debt in either one of the environments might be too big. But this is absolutely a good option if you think like maybe first go with a few teams, a few departments, check out their migrated content. How is it working over there? And then do maybe some more, and then later, maybe a release later, you still do an activate of the rest of the content. And then option 3 here is postpone. So postpone is literally what it says, do nothing. And that is till the Yokohama release. So looking at those releases, what will happen is with Washington, you will be able to opt in to everything that I just showed and move your own content over and have that navigation. And you will do that through that activation option upon upgrade. And of course, you can do it first on one of the test environments, or advice is to always do it on a test environment before you think doing that on a production. There's the sandbox mode, as well as the option to postpone in Washington. Then comes Xanadu, which still follows the same approach for upgrading customers around activation, sandbox, and postponing. Net new customers by X will actually be the ones that only get the platform analytics experience. They don't get the things that I showed as the core UI dashboard, or the core UI report design, or the core UI PA widget form anymore. So they will only be in the platform analytics experience. And then following into the Y release, Yokohama, this is actually the release when we will be activating upon the upgrade itself. So this is important information, where I said we only move forward mid 2025 or a little bit later, depending, of course, when you would decide to upgrade. Your content will actually move automatically into that next experience. And by default, you will be using those next experience, platform analytics experience solutions. We've been showing this deck in, or I've been actually showing this deck in many customer meetings already. Generally, we hear that everyone is super excited about this, to be able to use all those things, and not just use them, but actually use them on your own content, that what you created in the past. I do get it. It is still a change, and therefore we have, of course, this multi-release option. It's also to get ready as an end user for all those things that are coming. It might be, it's still a change. So there are absolutely features that are a little bit different, the dashboard builder, the visual designer. So for that, we have this approach, and making sure that we want to give you the time to actually be ready for that change. And between can do all this sort of enablement of your end users. Talking about enablement, we're doing a lot of enablement. We're presenting this messaging in a lot of different sessions. There will be a lot of communication also in documentation, release notes, of course, the community, We're putting in a lot of in-product help, actually, like embedded help or guided tours within the product to actually help you within the product on how things work. Training material we will absolutely adjust. We are working together with partners to at scale be able to make sure we do the right messaging to all our customers. And also one thing that we're currently working on is actually one thing that I tend to call the enablement toolkit. And that enablement toolkit has a ton of material, like mini decks and 2-minute or 3-minute videos on the how and what of all those next experience features. There's generic information on the value and benefits, as I mentioned in this presentation. There's technical documentation on the change itself, the what's new, the before and after materials that I showed. Maybe the impact, of course, on things like certifications or licensing, frequently asked questions, best practices, many more. That concludes my presentation side of the house. Mitch or any other, there were questions, or have my questions been answered?
Yes, I think you've answered some of them that have been coming through. I think I'll start with this first question that I think you just answered, but the question was also, you've mentioned the data science and predictive analytical capabilities. What resources would you point someone to as a way to understand those capabilities? And I believe the answer will be that last slide you just showed us. But is there anywhere else?
No, that's mostly in those same resources. So that will also be in communities. We're actually in communities under the Now platform analytics side. We're creating that whole enablement toolkit where we put all that information. So also on the predictive analytics capabilities that we added, some other data models that were added for doing predictive and forecasting or other type of analytics capabilities. So those will all indeed be there.
Awesome. Another question we had come in. So if we don't have the new UI activated, and I think they're speaking to Polaris here, can we still try out the next experience analytics?
Yeah. So what we did was, and that's actually an amazing question. I should have mentioned that. It's not tied to indeed the, let's say, Polaris side of the change. One thing that the Polaris change did was it introduced the, let me actually go to an instance, that's probably easier. Let's reload this one. What that change actually did was it introduced the let's say next experience UI app shell. And when I talk about the UI app shell, it's basically the whole new vision, like with using the purplish, and here and there you would see the space images and all those kind of things. It introduced this, of course, the unified nav with the navigation here on the top that you can still here, of course, open and close. It introduced things like theming. It's up to there. It's further not related to the things that we're building on what we would say the next experience UI framework. So the framework itself is where we have a new tech stack that uses the web component type of approach, where we use web components to create new. It has a new, let's say, UI layer where you can put web components in. For example, our workspaces. So the workspaces reside on that environment. If I would go to service operation workspace, this is something that's actually in the next experience framework and is further not so much related to the next experience UI app shell. So one thing that we're doing with especially bringing the platform analytics workspace, so this one into the all, is technically taking it fully loose of anything that's Polaris or next experience related. Like physically, it is created on that environment, like the UIs that you would see here with the Analytics Center Home. This is physically a next experience UI page that is built by the UI builder and things like that. But it's and not related into having you that plugin on true or false.
Got it. That's very helpful. One of the questions we had here with the proactive analytics, we saw that you mentioned the external, or not necessarily external, but integration in general. Can predictive analytics signal on external data sources or only data that lives in ServiceNow?
That's a good one. I think currently it doesn't. I think this is absolutely in their minds. So currently what the proactive capabilities, like for example, insights, if I would open this one on this dashboard over here, it actually shows a few of those insights of KPIs or analytics data that is happening over here. That's now, and this is a Vancouver instance, is very much related to the performance analytics indicator data. There are also where I say anything that we're building data source agnostic. We think that this should also be working on other types of in-platform data sources, at least first in-platform data sources, being, for example, user experience analytics, or maybe something like a metric base, or maybe even reporting data. So I think that will be the first. After that, there will be a way to also hook in your external data. I'm confident of that. That might be that, but then we're going into the real core, almost citizen dev kind of way, that through a UI builder, through the UI builder, you would already be possible to load in some data sources over there and do some certain things on top of that.
Got it. So I'm going to piggyback onto this just because it made me think of a different question. For those analytics insights, I know you mentioned at least today, it sounds like it's pretty related to the performance analytics data itself. So would you not expect just one of the data visualizations, which is the new form of legacy report, essentially, would you not expect the analytics insights to be able to run against one of those individual data visualizations?
So and I'll show it actually also here. So if this is the new analytics center and I go to data visualizations here, it shows me a set of data visualizations. All these data visualizations here that I'm showing on the screen, or the ones that might be beyond, could be any type of data source. So there could be what we would tend to call before reporting reports based on glide table data, could be over here, but also PA widgets built on performance analytics indicator data. There could also be data visualizations that are built on metric base. If I actually create a new one and I add a data source, the first thing that it does is it actually shows me those, and this instance actually has 4 of them enabled: tables, indicators, metric base, and user experience analytics. So this is really to highlight that data source agnostic approach. So I would select one of them. Let's grab maybe incident, but at least find something in multiple buckets, I guess. Yeah, so we have number of open incidents right here. We've got the incident right here. So you can already see that it's actually doing the sort of same data source agnostic approach, where for this one, it's actually showing a preview of data over time, because this is an indicator, performance analytics indicator data. This one is just a table, and therefore it's just showing records. If I would add this one, it will actually show me that score also over here. In this case, it's a line chart. But again, the data source that I've now selected, in this case, it's performance analytics, KPI data. It then defines the options that I would have within. So currently for this one, I have things like forecasting and trending, and can add a confidence band. If I would take the data table here, like the glide table that you would have as a report, I wouldn't have those options. So with that, the visual designer is that data source agnostic, that single data source agnostic builder and consumption way of any type of data source underneath. So looking at this one is currently working on the performance analytics indicator data, but it is that's actually one of the things that they are working on right now, is making that part wider, also data source agnostic for those other data sources. So, for example, to also work on metric base, which should potentially be pretty easy because it's also time series data changing over time, and things like reporting as well. What one thing that they're doing actually here is they're then, of course, adding some additional configuration on top to allow you as the end user or maybe as the admin to define which insights you will get from which type of data sources or maybe which type of analytics elements within. So maybe you would only want to see insights based on targets or on thresholds or maybe a certain signal that was found. So you can actually do some ranking within to make sure that you find the right insights on the top.
Yeah, that's really cool. One thing that I just saw while you were working through this that I think is super needed, so I think it's great you guys are doing it, is when you were setting up the data visualization and picking your data source, you had the suggestions. That's something I see, ServiceNow users struggle with sometimes because they might work in one particular corner of the platform and it's such a broad platform.
No, that's a good question. To a certain extent, it is. It's absolutely not at the state that we would love it to be. Ideally, I would have this super smart, that it would know me as the user, for example, always working in let's say change management. So I'm part of the ITSM suite, but my specific role, my main role is change management, and based on that knowledge, but maybe also some usage analytics knowledge, that it knows what I'm using within the platform, it can actually adjust this one. It's not that intelligent, unfortunately, yet, but that's absolutely one of the things on our mind. Like, how can we make this one as smart as possible, that we do the data source selection in such a way that we allow end users a quick way into their data. And even once you selected it, to make sure that you get the right data within. Maybe that would already imply applying some of the filtering, like conditions, to your data set.
And I think that answers all the questions that I've seen come in here. I know we're also bumping up on time. Is there any parting words or anything else that you maybe thought you missed that you want to get out there? It's been a great presentation. I think we're going to get a lot of people interested in this session for a long time. So much appreciated. But any last words?
Not really. I think this is indeed, I think this is a huge change. I would say always know that we as ServiceNow, we're working on so many things on the analytics platform. It's not just these dashboards and these data visualizations. It's the analytics capabilities underneath, the data science part, nowadays also the AI part, making sure that everything performs. That makes it always a pretty wide kind of list of priorities that we have, and that also, and we had a quick chat before, that also allows an amazing tool like VividChart on top to really be in that space of providing that flexibility of where certain of our solutions will most likely not allow or provide the presentability that we're so much searching for, simply because we are focusing on all those different areas. So I think that's a good partnership and understanding that we have there, and it's great to work together.
Yeah, that's definitely a sentiment that's shared. We love working with you all. You have been great partners. It's really exciting to see how far this has come, and yeah, really excited for everything you guys are doing here, and really appreciate you taking the time here, Robert, Jan. So we'll go ahead and get wrapped up here. As mentioned before, if you missed a portion of this session, it will be available in Zoom events. So you could register and come in and rewatch this along with Robert Jan's earlier session from today, which was fantastic from what I hear. So yes, thanks again for everybody who is watching this. Thanks for joining, and thanks again, Robert Jan. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Thanks. Bye-bye.